Hello, my name is Natari Irvin, and today I will be presenting my community project, which included or assigned me to go into a classroom and speak with a teacher about his or her different challenges that they are facing in their class and with their students. And so I personally went into my old high school that I graduated from at Mills High School, and I spoke with my old teacher, Miss Brenda Adams, who is a health and PE teacher. All right, so what was the problem? So Miss Adams was facing the challenge of recognizing her students having the lack of motivation to complete assignments that were health related. So her students were so used to participating in PE activities and different sports that she introduced and the different activities that a typical PE class would have. So they were kind of becoming bored with the non-interactive lesson planning. So who are the students? Miss Adams has a class that consists of a variety of students ranging from the 9th through the 12th grade. Each class period does not have a variety of students in it, but each class period has at least that one level of students. So the first period can be 9th grade and the second period can be 10th and so on. And then the technological solution that I came up with was providing these three different resources: Easel.ly, Quizlet, and Kahoot. So I'll go into detail about how these three different resources can be helpful to Ms. Adams and her students. So Easel.ly, which is a web-based infographic platform, it can be used to present different ideas, concepts, reports, and processes and projects through a visual form that it's easy to follow. So with this image that I have provided, it is straight from the website, and it provides different templates that students and educators can use so they don't have to just go from scratch, especially if they're not familiar with the website. Also, the next technological resources I have suggested is using Quizlet, which is a web-based app developed to help students study information through interactive tools and games. So this picture over here shows the Learn section that you can use in Quizlet, and it allows students to just become familiar with the terms and the definitions. So with this definition, you click at the bottom the different terms that is associated with that definition. So students can just click through that and become faster in memorizing and knowing the different terms and definitions. And then this image over here shows a screenshot of the game named Gravity. So as the image goes up, which will be a term, they will read that term as fast as they can and enter the correct the definition will go up, and they will enter the correct term that's associated with that definition. Then the next is Kahoot, which is a game-based learning platform, and it's generated with just using multiple choice quizzes, and the students can use their app, a Kahoot app, or just the web browser in order to access this. And the image that I have provided over here, it shows a ranking of how the top 3 students will be shown at the end of the game based on their speed and their accuracy of answering the questions. And then over here is a picture of the game settings that Miss Adams can use, or turn on, turn off, whatever. She can quiz her students individually, or she can pair them up and use the Kahoot app and pair them in teams. So they can either have a group setting game or an individual game. Next, I'll talk about the necessary tools or resources that the students will need. First will be the school computer lab, which at this particular school you have to schedule whenever you want the computer lab, at least 24 hours in advance. So that's one way that you can, access that. And then another tool that they will need is a laptop or a Chromebook, and which is becoming available for students in the future. And then next is a smartphone. I listed this as an optional resource because I think it's actually way easier to access Kahoot and Quizlet through the apps on their phones rather than going through the computer. So that's one way that they can, just access something very quick with their smartphone. So next I'll talk about the curriculum alignment. And according to the state standards, 9th through 12th health and physical education instructors, they should be reinforcing and practicing habits that promote personal hygiene. So I'll talk about how each of these technological tools and resources will go along with that state standard. So in practicing and promoting personal hygiene, this lesson plan, Ms. Adams can use easily by instructing her students to create an infographic on personal hygiene. And they'll provide statistical data that is related to effects of taking care of their body. And then with Quizlet, they can create online flashcards that students can learn different terms and definitions related to the topic in an interactive way. And then with Kahoot, you can easily create a game that challenges students on their memorization of the material and their ability to adapt to the skills and knowledge learned through that game. Also, according to the ISTE standards for students, I felt like the knowledge constructor will be the most recognized based on its ability to use technological resources and tools to construct knowledge, produce creative artifacts, and make meaningful learning experience for themselves and others. So this information that they'll learn during this unit will be especially helpful to the crisis that the world is facing today, which is COVID-19. So constructing this knowledge and making it meaningful to their health, their safety, and their current life experiences will be beneficial. So next I'll go into the 3 different assignments that I provided step by step that Adams can use for her to combat this challenge that she's facing with her students in her classroom. So with the Easily assignment, students will be required to choose a template on the website. Then they'll research some statistical data and helpful hygienic practices for the COVID-19 on the internet. And then they'll use that information to display it on the infographic. They'll be required to use some images, some graphic designs, and some text on the infographic, and also save and download that image. And here I provided an example of what an infographic will look like at the end with different images and different statistical data, just to create an interactive and attractive way to present some information. Next is the Quizlet assignment. Adams, I suggested that she would create an online set and not just her students, so that way she knows exactly what they are expected to learn instead of relying on them to come up with what they think will be on the assessment at the end of the unit. So the students will be required to click on the Learn section to become more familiar with the terms and their definitions, which is something that I showed you earlier in the presentation. And then they'll choose a game, which will be between Match or Gravity, and then they'll play at least 2 games and then record their best score. And I think that she could use this as some participation points in order to get the students and make sure that they're learning the different information. And then lastly, they'll take the Quizlet test at the end. The last assignment is the Kahoot assignment. So after Adams has presented the information on the subject of personal hygiene and its relevance to today's crisis, she'll prepare a Kahoot game based on that information. So she can present it by a PowerPoint presentation, a Prezi, a voice thread, an interactive YouTube video, literally any method she wants to, as long as those students know that that's the information they'll be quizzed on. Then the students will be required to use a smartphone or their computer to enter the game code, and then obviously correctly answer questions and with their corresponding shape and color quicker than their peers. So next I'll be talking about the assessment piece of all of this. So the most traditional testing method is just utilizing multiple choice, true and false, and short answer questions in order to combat the interactiveness that the students have already kind of encountered throughout this whole lesson. So this can be the most commonly way that Adams can test her students' knowledge that they've gained. Adams could also use the Kahoot as a substitution for her assessment. So this image that I provided, it shows you the ranking, it shows you the name of the student, the accuracy, which is only based on the correctness of the answers and not the speed, but the final score, it calculates the speed and their ability to answer to the questions correctly. So I would suggest that Adams just uses the accuracy in order to use this as their actual test score instead of the final score. Then also using the assessment piece for the infographic, I have provided this rubric that I created for the infographic, which provides students with something like a guideline or rules to follow when they're researching this data and presenting it in their project. And then the next thing is the Quizlet assessment piece that will automatically score for Adams. So she won't have to go in and find a report or anything like that. It'll automatically pop up right after the students have tested. And a great thing about this is that you can use different question types. So matching, multiple choice, true and false, or written. And it'll generate different test versions. So it'll be kind of hard for students to cheat off of one another. So after all of this and the different technological resources that I've suggested to Adams, I have also presented some what to expect information. So with this method of teaching, it may be something that difficult that the students may be receptive of. So Adams will need to provide at the start of the lesson some goals and some objectives so that the students can see the big picture. I also think that Adams should expect the appreciation side that the students will take on, only because it's the testing methods will be spontaneous and fun and interactive, which is something that they expected. Then the students will, I think Adams should take on the expectation of having her students take a little bit more time to become more familiar with the different online websites that she's using during this unit. So she'll have to be a little bit more patient so that they can get the hang of what's expected of them in using these different websites. And then the solution resolution. So at the end, these technological resources will introduce students to some things that they can use in not just this class. So it can be helpful in their overall educational experiences. And then also their interactive teaching methods will potentially motivate them to want to learn more material, gain more knowledge for the betterment of themselves as lifelong learners. So they can transfer this knowledge that they've used in this health and PE class to another course and later on in life. Like I said before, Adams will need to become patient in allowing her students to become familiar with the websites and the requirements of the different assignments that she's assigning them. And then lastly, these 3 resources will hopefully keep these students active, which is something they expected from the overall course, and it'll challenge them to apply their knowledge in both health and physical education to their everyday lives. That is the end of my presentation. Hopefully, Adams and her students can learn some things from this presentation and this lesson plan unit. So thank you for watching.